I've got the quill, and what I'm working on is just taking the cap off here, which is this set screw. You got to get this loose, and it's I think it's a dog point. Yeah, it's not sure what point that's called. It's just like a cone there. And then just gonna use a little hammer here to knock that front loose. And then you can see in there where that set screw goes in there. And then with a little tap on the end of the spindle there, that spindle should come out of the quill. That feels a little solid. Well, that didn't sound very good, so what I went ahead and did is I've got the spindle and the quill upside down here with the top facing up. I guess it's not upside down, it's in the right orientation, but I'm going to take the lock nut off here and the this lock washer out of here. Now I wonder if that'll go out. And that appeared to be the solution. Surprised that spacer's not tight in there. It's got a couple of ouchies in it. Just working on the quill right now for the M head, and one of the things that I want to do is bearings feel really good, but I want to get them out. I want to get numbers off them, just check them out, possibly flush that grease out of there and repack everything, get the quill itself cleaned out. So it appears to be a pretty loose slip fit in there, so I'm just a piece of I think that's I don't know whether it's copper or bronze, but it's just kind of tapping on it here just to. Yeah, it's working its way out. One more should have it. Looks like we got an outer spacer and an inner spacer. So I want to make sure I get the orientation of the bearings correct too. I'm not sure what type of bearings these are, but I got to make sure they go back in the same order. Same orientation as well. Hope I caught that on camera. Can't tell whether that thing flipped over on me or not. So I'm pretty sure I've got the orientation back in the right way. I could see, I know the way this bearing came out in the spacer, and I can see where the spacer tube was contacting the inner race of this one here. So that's how it stacks, and that goes into the spindle that way. One of the things that I noticed when I pulled the spindle apart here on the M head, and I didn't film it, but I've got it back together. I mean, it's pretty simple, but one of the things that I found was in the spare parts diagram here. It shows two bearings down at the bottom at the nose end, which it's yeah, it's got 82. It's identified as two bearings. 83 is identified as a bearing spacer. 84 is an inside ID bearing spacer. 79 is the long spacer. So all that's common with the spindle when I took it apart, but up here at the top end of the spindle, the spare parts diagram has a Wallace Barnes wavy washer and a wavy spring spacer, and then item number 75, which is a 205 KCR Pfaffner bearing. So in this scenario here, it only shows one bearing at the top, so I'm not 100% sure whether two bearings at the top, which is what I had when I pulled it apart, is an upgrade to the M head or what's going on there, but I've put it back together the way it was. So the other thing I decided to do was I took all the grease out of the bearings, cleaned the spindle, everything all out. And I did actually find online somebody had commented on an M head, and I checked it on YouTube, and it was I guess it's called a total loss oil system. So what happens is the oil cup on the side of the belt housing feeds the spindle pulley bearing pack, and then that oil runs through a series of oil galleries, and then it comes down through the spindle. So I took all the grease out, got it back together, got that nut tightened up there, got the spindle, the nose cleaned up here, so it's pretty much ready to go back in.